as a parent, I look at it as kind of my job to teach my daughter about faith in herself, about, not holding on to an idea of herself to give herself a false sense of value and compete and compare to everybody else, but to have faith in herself and grow as a person and get into that whole flow where she's finding her own value through doing things. But a lot of us never got that growing up, right? A lot of us were never taught self-efficacy. What we were taught was to do what we were told, and if we did that well, we got a cookie, right? And then just to wait for our opportunity to be in charge, so other people had to listen to us, right? And that was it. Like, we live in a hierarchical model where it's like either you have to serve happily underneath somebody else, or you got to wait your turn to be that somebody else where people will serve happily under you, right? And that was the entire thing. We were never taught to stand on our own with reality, right? Which is why I often find it interesting that most monotheistic religions came out of the desert. Because if you think about the desert experience of one person standing in the desert in the night sky staring upwards, it's a very isolated experience, just man and God, right? Human and God. And so it makes sense that in that environment, you would start having conversations with reality. You would start conversing with your reality, and the idea of God would come up, right? So I always find that really interesting, but it's just the fact that if there's nothing to look to, then this is it. This is it. And for people who have been mindful about their life, people who have developed self-efficacy, people who have developed a state of genuine self-knowledge, there's nothing wrong with that. They're like, yeah, this is it. This is great, right? They look at life kind of like the Knack McFeagle do from Terry Pratchett's books, where it's like, this is heaven. We were somewhere else. We died. We came here. This is where we get to enjoy ourselves, right? Whereas if you have been avoidant, irresponsible, if you were never taught to find your own sense of value, if you were always taught you needed to be higher than other people, then all of a sudden the idea that this is it is terrifying, because you've never felt complete. You've never felt fulfilled. You've never felt safe. You've never felt like you were good enough, or that you were able enough to make do. And so you don't want the idea that there's no one there protecting you. You don't want to fall back on yourself because you don't see the value in that. And that's the biggest thing. It's like, well, if you just let yourself sit in that for a bit, just for a little bit, you'll find the value, you'll actually experience it. But as soon as you run back to God, you've given up all of that extra progress, all of that work, right? Just for the sake of feeling more secure.